we're at that point of the year where everyone likes saying, "Oh my God, 2017 was worse than 2016," and last year it was, "Oh my God, 2016 was way worse than 2015," and then 2015, "Oh my God, 2015 was as worse as 2014," and then now we're saying, "Oh my God, 2018 is gonna be even more worse," and so on and so forth and so on and so forth. The cycle continues with the same thing. This year is going to be worse than last year, but next year is going to be worse as this year. Is there really a point to point that out? We say that every year. Why is there a need to say that? If it's understood that each year is going to get progressively worse, then why should we verbally say that the year that's going to come, or what has already arrived, is bad? If we already know that, if we already say that this year is going to be worse than the other year, or is worse than the other year, and next year is going to be worse, what's the point? Sure, there's some things that are subjective to one because a event happened on that year that would make the other years not as bad as that year. That's subjective. And I'm not saying that as in a bad way, because usually when I say subjective, I'm usually pointing out the people who are pretty dumb. But in this case, subjective is really like an ice cream flavor, which is the way I'm talking about here. So I'm not calling you an idiot if you find a year specifically as specifically bad than the other years. Sure, that's fine. I can't say like you can't have that. You can't say that. No, of course you can't. What I'm saying is that really is no point of saying that each year is going to be worse as the other year, or next year is going to be worse than this year. There's really no point, because we understand that each year is going to have its own hardship. Of course, we would find ourselves, pretty bad in a sense. You probably think that I'm annoyed by this, but in reality, I'm just really confused at the point where, is it really necessary to keep repeating the fact that each year is bad? We understand that. The world is not a perfect place, nor will it ever be a perfect place. Don't let anyone tell you that the world is fine how it is, or don't let anyone say that the world can be perfected with progress. The world will never, ever come to a point of peace. It will never come to the point where wars will stop. Wars will continue raging off. Death will continue taking lives. Diseases will continue ruining lives. And people will still continue being scumbags. That's not an understatement. It is the truth. It is the facts. The facts are there. It's evident. I don't get why people think that, or maybe, that person will be fine. No. At the end of the day, we're all scumbags. We all end up doing something that will ruin someone's day. So don't say that humanity can be perfected, when in reality, it will never happen. Humanity will always continually get worse and worse with the new technology that's being released that will help us to do more bad things. Now, of course, there are a lot of things that are made for good, but as, history has shown us, the good things that's been made can also be used as bad things. It can be used for bad purposes. Anything that is used for good can be turned to bad. Maybe you could say that with bad things, but really, do you really want to risk it? Do you really want to risk doing something that you think you can turn into good? I mean, honestly though, when it comes to like technology or like substances, that's a little risky there. Unless you're not saying, oh, I think, alcohol is going to be good for me, so I'm going to try to drink it, so I can be good. No, that's stupid. But when you're talking about a person, that's a whole different story. But in this case, you gotta realize that humanity is screwed up. There is no hope for us without Christ. So what does that mean? Should we just give up on society? Should we give up on the world itself? No, I'm not saying that you should pack up your bags and go to around the world to give people money. Like to try to help out. Not everyone's built for that, but everyone can just smile and say friendly things like, "You look nice today," instead of being the rude jerk that you usually are. For those of you who act like that, you can keep your thoughts to yourself and be an acceptable human individual. And what I mean by an acceptable human individual, I mean that you're not, toxic, And toxic, what I mean by that, that can go in many directions. A lot of people can say, oh, if you talk about this, you're toxic, or if you talk about that, you're toxic. But I think there's a general understanding that you are allowed to have an opinion, but how you share that opinion is very important, and how you hold that opinion is very important as well. And how you react to an opinion is also very important. So if you hold the guidelines of a decent human being and you have opinions, that's fine. That's not toxic. Don't let anyone try to take away your opinion from you. But if you start, being, like a jerk to people, that will, in turn, get a lot of people upset. What's the point of getting people upset? Now, let me tell you something. I've heard this in the song. It's pretty funny. It's the truth will set you free, but first it's gonna piss you off, okay? That's a whole different thing, alright? That's a whole different thing from wanting to piss someone off to wanting to help someone. But how you do it is very important. But at the end of the day, when you prove someone wrong, it's gonna set them free. But first it's gonna piss them off. So let's stop. Let's stop saying that each year will be bad as the other year. Let's just nod our heads and say goodbye to 2017 and say hello to 2018 and try our best to make it, make the world just a tad bit sweeter than it was last year. How about that? How about we try doing that? Like I said before, humanity will never be perfected. It will never come to a point of peace. Just accept that, but still try. Still attempt to make a world a better place. We can get there, but we will never reach to that point. We can get close enough, and just remember, there's always that one guy who doesn't like that idea and will ruin everything. But that's okay though, because we were made for this kind of stuff. We were made to get back up from failure and continue moving on.